Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. We're looking through the Gospel of Mark. We're in Mark chapter 6. And today, Jesus has been teaching throughout Galilee, that whole region and all. And today he calls the 12 disciples to him. And he sent them out two by two and gave them authority over evil spirits, according to verse 7. And these were his instructions. Take nothing for the journey except a staff, no bread, no bag, no money in your belts. Wear sandals, but not an extra tunic. Whenever you enter a house, stay there until you leave that town. And if any place will not welcome you or listen to you, shake the dust off your feet when you leave as a testimony against them. So Jesus brings the 12 out. He sends them two by two, and they go out ministering. And they've been given charge over evil spirits. And they go and they minister. They're driving out evil spirits. They are healing. And the instructions Jesus gave, he says, don't take anything with you. He said, don't take any bread. Don't take a bag. Don't take money. Just go yourself and be dependent. Live on faith. It would be quite a faith walk, but it worked. And they go, and some people would welcome them, and they would stay in their house. If they didn't welcome them, he said, just wipe the dust off your feet and move on. I think that's one thing today's Christians we could learn. A lot of times we get way too sensitive when somebody doesn't want to hear about Jesus, or when somebody doesn't want to hear the gospel. I think we feel like we're failures. Jesus has always taught. He taught in the parable of the sower, if you remember, that it's the hearer who is responsible. You're responsible for giving the message. It's their responsibility what they do with it. Paul in Corinthians, he talks about that spiritual things to a non-believer just seem foolish. They're just foolishness to them. So that's why if somebody who is a non-believer or not a Christian, if they get interested, then you need to hop on them, because if it's the Holy Spirit working on them, you need to work on them if they do. But apparently they were quite successful, because it said they drove out many demons and anointed many sick people with oil and healed them. Now, Jesus is attracting crowds. His disciples are attracting crowds. And Herod is hearing about it. Now, Herod lives over in Tiberias. Tiberias is a larger city that he built, actually. Not a lot of Jews lived there because he built it over a cemetery. But his palace is over in Tiberias, which is on the Sea of Galilee as well, but just different side. When we go to the Holy Land, we stay 2 or 3 days in Tiberias. Last time we had beautiful rooms. They were right there on the Sea of Galilee, and we all had rooms facing the sea, and we had balconies, and it was a wonderful experience to stay there. And they had great food there at that place too. But he's hearing that Jesus is doing this. Now, he's put John the Baptist to death. And he's fearful that John the Baptist has come back from the dead, thinking that's who Jesus is. And then Mark goes and explains how John the Baptist was killed. Apparently Herod had stolen his brother's wife, Herodias. And he stole her, and he brought her to be his wife. And John the Baptist was that was part of his message. He was preaching against Herod, what he was just done, how that was evil, how that was wrong for him to stolen his brother Philip's wife. And Herod liked listening to John the Baptist, and apparently wherever he was in prison, must have been right there on the grounds with the palace. John the Baptist was still preaching, still attracting a crowd, and Herod could still hear him, and he liked listening to him. But his wife didn't like hearing about their sinful lives, didn't like hearing all about that. So they had a big birthday bash for Herod one time, and his stepdaughter would have done a big dance for him. And apparently he was drunk, and apparently it must have been quite a dance, because afterwards he said, "Ask me for anything and I'm going to give it to you, up to half my kingdom." Well, she talked to her mom, and what she asked for was John the Baptist's head on a platter. And that disturbed Herod, but he went ahead and did it, and went down and had John's head cut off and put it on a platter and brought it to Herod's wife's daughter. And so that's how John the Baptist's life ended. And sometimes being a believer and a follower of God is not easy, as John the Baptist showed, as most of the disciples will show. But we follow the Lord not because it's easy, but because it's good. It is the good life. Living by faith is better than anything else we can do. And that's what Jesus was teaching his disciples. He kept calling them the little faiths. And he was trying to build their faith, and building their faith as he sent them out 2 by 2 with nothing. He said, just depend upon God. That's how we need to be living our life, is walking by faith, depending upon God. Not really worrying about people who are going to reject our message. We need to be willing to just not argue, not be hurt, just shake the dust off our feet and move on. And there may be people who desire Christians harm. We fortunately live in a country where we still have freedom to preach, freedom to live our life, freedom to practice our religion. Not every country does. But we still have those freedoms, and I'm grateful for that. But I hope today that we'll take advantage of that and live our faith. Well, we'll continue in chapter 6 tomorrow, and I hope you have a blessed day, and we'll go dive a little bit more into chapter 6 tomorrow. I hope you get a chance to read ahead. We're talking about Jesus feeding the multitudes and him walking on the water. It's an exciting passage, and hope to see you tomorrow. Bye now.